What secrets are Taylor Swift, Jon Hamm, Phil Lewis, and more hiding? Well, stick around to find out. Some of Taylor Swift's musical inspirations have not been entirely impressed by the singer's not-so-romantic ballads. In 2012, John Mayer told Rolling Stone that he was embarrassed by the song Dear John after her third studio album, Speak Now, because it was kind of presumed to be about him. He said, "It made me feel terrible because I didn't deserve it." Apparently, he was blindsided by the song's release. "I never got an email, I never got a phone call, I was really caught off guard." He said Taylor was too big of an artist to stoop to what he thought was low-level songwriting. Now, in response, Taylor Swift claimed to Glamour that he wasn't the track's inspiration. She's like, "How presumptuous, I never disclose who my songs are about." But he's not alone in his gripes. In an interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show, Taylor revealed that her song Forever and Always was written with Joe Jonas in mind, and apparently Joe had called off the relationship over a brief phone call. Well, Joe took to MySpace to address his split, being like, "For those who expressed concern over the 27-second phone call, I called to discuss feelings with the other person. Those feelings were obviously not well received. I did not end the conversation, someone else did. Phone calls can last only as long as the person on the other end of the line is willing to talk." Well, in the summer of 2012, Taylor Swift made headlines once again for a reported whirlwind romance with Connor Kennedy, son of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Speaking to ABC News in October of that year, Taylor didn't want to comment on the relationship because she doesn't talk about her personal life in that great detail. She said, "I feel like you can share enough of your life in your music to still let people know what you're going through and how you feel, and still with all the connection." Well, the bone of contention wasn't just the 4-year age difference between the then couple, but the fact that the duo was first spotted getting cozy only a week after Kennedy had become legal. So when asked if Taylor kidnapped Kennedy by flying him out to Nashville privately, she was like, "How did I kidnap him? You can't kidnap a grown man. These are serious accusations." Well, apparently, Taylor had been studying the Kennedy family prior to the relationship. Folks had a lot to say when she bought a $4.9 million beach house near the Kennedy estate in Cape Cod, allegedly just to be close to the family. And after the couple broke up, she sold the place. So when Taylor and Connor were dating, she was also accused of crashing a family wedding with him against the bride's wishes. Connor's cousin, Kyle Kennedy, was tying the knot with Liam Kerr, and Mother Victoria was like, "I didn't want Taylor in attendance." She told news outlets that apparently the couple texted her an hour before the wedding and was like, "Hey, can we come?" And she responded with a very clear, "Please do not come," and they arrived anyways. According to Victoria's account of the events, she graciously let Swift know her name, showed her the door afterwards. But Taylor apparently paid her no mind. Victoria said, "It was like talking to a ghost. She looked right past me." Jon Hamm, star of Mad Men, took part in a violent university hazing in 1990 at the University of Texas that led to criminal charges, at least according to court and school records. The incredible actor had not been previously publicly linked to a lawsuit filed by a member of a fraternal social organization who said he was severely harmed, dragged with a hammer, and had his pants lit on fire. In the 1991 lawsuit, the inductees said Hamm participated till the very end. Criminal records show that, well, he was charged with hazing and received probation, and a separate charge of harm was dismissed. That chapter of the fraternity, by the way, was permanently disbanded. A rep for Jon Hamm didn't comment on the incident when it was brought to light in 2015, and the star himself didn't give much of a comment to Esquire in a later interview. In addition to his hit piece comment, he was bristling at the topic, and when he finally addressed it, he downplayed it as sensationalized. He literally said, "I wouldn't say it's accurate. Everything about that is sensationalized. I was accused of these things I don't do. It's so hard to get into it. I don't want to give it any more breath. It was a bummer of a thing that happened. I was essentially acquitted. I wasn't convicted of anything. I was caught up in a big situation, stupid situation, and it's an effing bummer. I moved on from it." So sure, none of the records were sealed. John wasn't famous when the incident happened, and his connection to the case didn't come to light until magazines reported on it. But the internet had opinions about how he talked about it, with one user on Twitter saying, "Jon Hamm addressing his hazing scandal in this profile is a great example of how not to sound sorry about hooking the claw end of a hammer underneath a freshman's you-know-what." Somebody else said, "Men like Jon Hamm were dangerous to be around on a college campus. Because if they thought hazing was okay, you can better believe they thought worse things were no big thing. Good men don't haze people. Men who do were trash." And that was according to Shades of Limelight. Fun fact, folks, there are more connections with mainstream Hollywood and the adult industry than you might think. Some major players such as Sylvester Stallone, Wes Craven and Men in Black director Barry Sonnenfeld cut their teeth in the genre. It was also commonplace for many behind the camera to work interchangeably between the two worlds, sometimes using pseudonyms. So for example, cinematographer Wow Fernandez used names like Harry Flex for his adult film work, but he went under his real name for mainstream movies like Invasion USA, Friday the 13th, Final Chapter. In the early 1930s and then again in the 1940s, Joan Crawford was one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. But before her star took off, there was a bit of a scandal that almost stopped everything. In 1923, a year before she first appeared on Broadway, Crawford reportedly starred in a movie called The Casting Couch. Now that name should give everything away, but in case you're a little bit lost, it was essentially an adult film. Crawford, trying to make ends meet and get her name out there, apparently starred in many adult movies around that time. Now she repeatedly denied her involvement, but researchers have found that sadly, she was blackmailed at the time because of the movie. Phil Lewis started his film career in the iconic 1988 comedy film Heathers. That movie centers around a slew of, crazy crimes, and that would become all too relevant to Lewis in just a few years. In 1991, at the age of 23, Lewis was arrested after accidentally taking the life of a woman with his car. The amount of fun fluids in his system was over 3 times the legal level, which even his own defense attorney called extraordinarily high. Lewis claimed he was unable to remember anything for nearly 10 hours leading up to the accident, which was deemed possible due to his extreme level of intoxication. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but was reduced to just 1 after he spent much of his sentence working with a prison-based theater troupe that highlighted the consequences of that kind of crime. Now, despite these rough years as a young man, he continued to land guest roles in shows such as Married with Children, Boy Meets World, and then got that lead role on Sweet Life, which we all know him from. Uma Thurman said that Quentin Tarantino both hand necklaced her and spit on her for different shots for different moments in the films Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction, and Tarantino confirmed these allegations but defended the reasoning behind them. Now, Thurman has said that Tarantino also pushed her into doing a dangerous stunt that ended in a serious car accident, and these are all things that I think should be talked about more. Tippi Hedren was Alfred Hitchcock's most iconic leading lady. Under his direction, she went from being a model to a respected actress, but unfortunately he wanted a little more than to just direct her on screen. He was reportedly quite obsessed with her and made a number of unwanted advances, which she rejected. She said, "He stared at me and simply said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, that from that time on, he expected her to make herself available and accessible to him, however and whenever and wherever he wanted." Now, when Tippi tried to get out of her contract with him, he threatened to ruin her career, and then he followed through on his threat. Because he had her under contract, he was able to keep her on the payroll without actually employing her. He made sure to turn down any film offers that came in from any studios. Looking back, she has a pretty good attitude about the situation, saying he ruined my career but didn't ruin my life. That time when my life was over, and I still admire the man for who he was, but yikes. The Kennedy curse spares no man. Senator Ted Kennedy, younger brother of President John F. Kennedy, was driving over a bridge with politician Mary Jo Kopechne in 1969 when the car leaped over the barrier and sank into the ocean. And while Kennedy was able to swim to safety, Mary Jo didn't make it. Once Kennedy made it back to his hotel, he waited till morning to call the police and report the crash. It is thought that maybe Mary Jo could have survived if help had arrived sooner rather than wait the 9 hours. Why did he do this? Well, he didn't want to get in trouble with the law, so he waited until the morning when he had sobered up. Some folks think that maybe the entire incident was an attempt to take the life of Mary Jo for unknown reasons. In 2013, Corey Feldman went on The View to talk about how the Predator numbers are larger than anybody knows and include a ring reaching up into the Hollywood elite that's been shielded for years by the establishment. Barbara Walters looked at him with disbelief, hands clasped across her stomach, and snarled, "You're damaging an entire industry," as if to say that Hollywood itself was more valuable than wrecking lives. In a lengthy statement posted to Twitter, Charisma Carpenter detailed how Joss Whedon allegedly mistreated her during her time on both of his hit shows that she worked on, Buffy and Angel. Carpenter wrote that after nearly 2 decades of staying quiet and making excuses for traumatizing events, she finally had the courage to call out Joss Whedon for using his power in a bad way on numerous occasions. Following Charisma's allegations, which included claims that Whedon continuously made passive-aggressive threats to fire her, called her fat when she was 4 months pregnant, pitted cast members against one another, and unceremoniously fired her after accusing her of sabotaging the show, several of her Buffy and Angel castmates shared their thoughts on the situation and messages of support. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who played Buffy on Buffy, said that while I am proud to have my name associated with Buffy Summers, I don't want to be forever associated with the name Joss Whedon. I stand with all survivors and am proud of them for speaking out. James Marsters, who played Spike, mentioned that while he will always be honored to have played the character, the Buffy set was not without challenges. He does not support harm of any kind, and he was heartbroken to learn of the experiences of some of the cast. He sent his love and support to everybody. So there was a lot of suspicions about the casting couch as a term used to characterize stars who are handed roles in exchange for favors long before the Harvey story broke. Megan Fox was one who spoke out. She spoke with GQ and laid out the cold hard facts, putting the rumors to rest. The actress stated that she would be honored to meet Hollywood legends and that she would be overjoyed by prospects, and then when she arrived, she would find out that meetings would be just a ruse. Many males in the profession were able to get away with sleeping with a lot of women, but she wasn't one of them. She was like, absolutely not, and that didn't help her career. Film critics and historians mentioned like, hey, does this ring a bell? Because over the years in Hollywood, the risks for a lot of folks were kind of high if you didn't follow the leader. Fall in line. Vanessa Marquez had a recurring role on the hospital drama ER during the 90s, playing nurse Wendy Goldman, and alleged that George Clooney helped blacklist her after she spoke up about the harassment that was occurring on the set of the hit show. Now, Clooney has since denied the allegations, saying he had nothing to do with casting, he was an actor and only an actor. If she was told he was involved in any decision about her career, then she was lied to. The fact that he couldn't affect her career is only surpassed by the fact that he wouldn't have. Now, following her stint on ER, Vanessa hasn't really had a lot of work. Sadly. Tara Subkoff was an up-and-coming actress in the 90s. She had roles in movies like As Good as It Gets, All Over Me, The Last Days of Disco. She was up for a part in one of Harvey's movies when he offered her the role at a premiere after a party, and then he hit on her. Well, according to her, after she rejected his advances, she found herself on the Hollywood block list. She was the subject of false gossip, labeled difficult to work with, and by that I mean like too difficult to work with. She said it became impossible for her to get work as an actress after that, so then she had to start a new career path, and yeah. Poor thing. Harvey, once again, had Mira Sorvino's career derailed after she rejected his advances. She mentioned to Ronan Farrow that she had rejected him on several occasions and had even reported his harassment to a female employee at Miramax, and had then noticed that her career was starting to suffer. She mentioned like there may have been other factors, but she definitely felt iced out and that her rejection of Harvey had something to do with it. In December of 2017, director Peter Jackson came forward and admitted that Harvey had badmouthed Sorvino to him, telling him that she was a nightmare to work with and he should avoid her at all costs. Seeing a pattern here today. Tippi Hedren was Alfred Hitchcock's most iconic leading lady. Under his direction, she went from being a model to a respected actress. Unfortunately, he wanted a little more than to just direct her on screen. He was reportedly quite obsessed with her and made a number of unwanted advances, which she rejected. She said, "He stared at me and simply said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, that from this time on, he expected me to make myself available in that nature and accessible to him, however and whenever and wherever he wanted." Now, when Tippi tried to get out of her contract with Hitchcock, he threatened to ruin her career, and then he followed through with his threat. Because he had her under contract, he was able to keep her on the payroll without actually employing her. He made sure to turn down any film offers that came in from other studios. Now, looking back at it, she actually has a pretty good attitude about the situation. She mentioned that he ruined her career, but he didn't ruin her life. That time of her life was over. She still admires him for his work, but not as a person. After Clint Eastwood dumped Sandra Locke back in 1989, she found herself blacklisted by all of Hollywood's major studios, and this lasted for like a decade. Before the breakup, she had quite the career. She had an Oscar nomination under her belt, she had starred in 6 films of his, she was a budding director, but her breakup with the legendary director was very messy. She arrived home one day to find that he had changed the locks on their shared home and had put her stuff in storage. In response, she filed a palimony suit against him. In 1990, they were able to reach an agreement. Eastwood actually set up a development/directing pact for her at Warner Brothers in exchange for her dropping the suit. But 5 years later, they're back in court. She alleged that he had compensated Warner Brothers to keep her out of work because they had rejected all of the 30 projects that she had proposed and didn't give her any of their in-house projects. When he realized the jury was going to side with Locke, he settled with her for an undisclosed amount. But her career was not magically resurrected. However, it did send out a message in Hollywood that powerful people can and will take advantage of their power, but in this case, we win. Being wrongfully touched is a problem for a lot of folks in Hollywood, be it man, woman, no matter what your gender is. A sad example of this is Brendan Fraser, who claimed in 2018 that at a public event, he went to shake the hand of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association president, or HFPA, Philip Burke, but instead Burke grabbed Fraser's behind. Now, Burke has described this account as a total fabrication, but then, in his 2014 memoir, he admitted to having groped him in jest. Sadly, when you combine this harm, Brendan's divorce at the time, and the death of his mother, it kind of launched him sadly into a depression that, combined with his health problems, led to a break in his career. He had completely turned away from the spotlight, but then he bravely and publicly shamed Burke for the indecency. Sadly, for quite a while after that, Brendan's work phone stopped ringing. But now he's back, and we'd love to see it. So in March of 2012, Kim Kardashian was doused in flour while walking the red carpet at the launch of her perfume, True Reflection, in West Hollywood. Now, prior to the attack, Kim looked really cute. She was wearing these tight black pants, a matching blazer, a bright blue blouse. It was fun. It was that business casual-esque sort of look, but the flour ended up covering her entire upper half and her hair, and like, ugh, getting that out of your hair, it's like paste. So at the time, TMZ reported that Kim and her momager, Kris Jenner, were quickly ushered into a private room following the incident, and then Kim came back out later, laughing off the ordeal, being like, oh my gosh, that is probably the craziest, unexpected, weird thing that ever happened to me. Like, I said to my makeup artist that I wanted more powder, and that's a whole lot of translucent powder right there. Meanwhile, the assailant reportedly ran off after throwing the flour, but was intercepted by somebody who worked for Kim and held until the police arrived. She was arrested, but Kim opted not to press charges, with the woman being released shortly afterwards. Now, at the time, everybody thought that the attack was animal rights oriented. Apparently, the woman shouted "fur hog" when she threw the flour. And previously, PETA had called out Kim for her love of fur, but the organization denied that they were involved. And trust me, they love to take credit when they do something like that. So, here's the thing, folks. Kim Kardashian's former media strategist, Shiraz Hassan, alleged that the infamous incident was actually staged to help promote this whole perfume launch. In the documentary, The Kardashians' Billion-Dollar Dynasty, he claimed he told her, okay, this is what's gonna happen, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be safe, but we're going to create a media moment. If we create media gold, guess what's gonna happen? Everybody's going to be talking about your perfume, everybody's going to buy it. Well, that's a weird way of doing it, but I guess no publicity is bad publicity? That's the phrase, right? So long before the most recent Hollywood scandals we can't talk about emerged, there were rumors about the casting couch, a term used to describe stars who are given roles in exchange for favors of a carnal nature. Megan Fox gave an interview to GQ and put the rumors to rest by laying out the cold, hard facts. The actress said that Hollywood legends would invite her to meet, and she would be so excited for the opportunity. Then when she would show up, she would realize that the meeting was just a ruse. She said a lot of the men were able to get away with sleeping with a lot of women in the industry, but she wasn't one of them. She would shut them down immediately, and that kind of explains why her acting career kind of fell to the wayside for a bit. The history of the casting couch is lengthy, with many guilty of its use. An early practitioner was Louis B. Mayer, who co-founded Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios back in 1924. MGM? Mayer, the ground zero of this kind of harm, had the means, motive, opportunity in that critical piece of the puzzle. The power. If women didn't comply, he'd threaten to ruin their careers or those of their loved ones. Yeah, sound familiar? So according to film critic and historian Carrie Rickey, the perils for women in Hollywood are embedded, like landmines, from an actress's debut to her swan song. This is a place where big moguls wouldn't cast starlets unless they auditioned in bed, which so freaking gross. So everybody calls Elvis Presley the king of rock and roll, but I think that title really belongs to Chuck Berry. The man was a rock pioneer, and with a little help from Marty McFly, he produced some all-time classics like Johnny B. Good, Roll Over Beethoven. Rolling Stone even went so far as to deem him the 5th greatest artist of all time. But and it's a big one. Well, he's one of America's greatest musicians. There are some who'd say he's also one of America's biggest creeps. I know, it broke my heart, but over the years he has had multiple run-ins with the law. In the 70s he was arrested for income tax evasion. In 1987 he was arrested for harming a woman. In 1990 police raided his home and made off with a lot of substances and weapons. But things get worse if we go way back in time. Well, not way back, but like 1961. He was arrested for transporting a female across state lines for naughty purposes. And sadly, that wasn't the only time he was accused of freaky behavior. In 1990, he was sued by multiple women, all of whom claimed he had videotaped them while using the bathroom. Now, this restroom in question was located in a St. Louis restaurant owned by the rock star, but instead of going to court, he settled. Supposedly, the whole ordeal cost him $1.2 million plus legal fees, and it really goes to show that when you're talking about beloved celebrities, you can never tell. So sometimes all it takes is an illicit substance for an actor or actress to put on their best performance. Tinseltown has been known to allegedly supply many A-list stars with a never-ending flow of their favorite vice. Actor Dennis Quaid revealed he had a casual addiction to No-No Snow before becoming a huge star. When he first moved to LA in 1974, he dabbled with it here and there, but things didn't get out of control until he was booked to appear in mainstream films. He did reveal that No-No Snow was listed in movies' budgets, but it was disguised as petty cash to keep the substance stuff on sets a secret, or an open secret. He claimed this was freely given out on movie sets because it was the norm. It was something everybody was doing. Now, looking back on it, he called his addiction one of the biggest mistakes he ever made. He said being addicted to it caused his entire life to fall apart. Even Jack Nicholson has spoken candidly about his use of substances. In a 1980 interview, he said, it ain't no big thing, and he still loved to, have fun about 4 days a week. Which, like, that sounds a little dangerous, a little too much, but what do I know? The Brady Bunch was one of TV's most wholesome shows. When it first hit the air in 1969, it was one of the first TV shows to portray a blended family. Whether you watched the show when it first aired or caught it in reruns, it has been a staple for generations, thanks to its family-friendly storytelling. And sorry to be the one to break it to you, but this show had a dark side too. And the youngest Brady, Cindy, otherwise known as Susan Olsen, spilled some serious scoop. So rumors of behind-the-scenes hookups have always run rampant, and this happens on any show. But Olsen confirmed the actors were all hooking up with each other in one way or another. She said, we led a sheltered life for part of the year, so if there was anybody to get a crush on or to try to date, it would be our counterparts. Now look, they weren't real life brothers and sisters, so I guess it's not so bad. According to Olsen, she and Mike Lookinland started having a makeout session in Tiger's doghouse when they were on the show. And yes, the thing that you're feeling right now are the last shreds of your innocence leaving your soul. I know. I'm sorry to break your heart. So Mean Girls was a hit when it released in 2004, and it's gone on to become a cultural phenomenon. This film, starring Lindsay Lohan and Rachel McAdams, gave us The Plastics, it gave us Fetch, Burn Books, Pink Wednesdays. It's inspired a whole culture. It's infiltrated our language. When you compare somebody to Regina George, you know what it means. There's references scattered throughout pop culture to this day. However, despite everything that's been written about the film, there's a dark side of it that's rarely ever been addressed. So Daniel, who played level pal Damien, was a real life victim of bullying, on this set and on other sets. It took many years for him to open up about the experience, only going public in 2007 when he accused actress Bijou Phillips of bullying him. Now, the pair worked together on his first film, ironically named Bully in 2001, and he accused her of body shaming him and making him feel uncomfortable by asking about his sexuality. Now, Phillips later issued a public apology, but denied being homophobic. So powerful figures in Hollywood have continued to enjoy strong careers even after horrible allegations of on-set harm. Let's spin the wheel, Quentin Tarantino. In an interview with the New York Times about a disgraced Hollywood producer, Uma Thurman talked about her experience with Tarantino on Pulp Fiction and many other movies, and she said that he both put his hands around her neck and spit on her for different moments in the films. And he confirmed these allegations, but he defended his reasoning. Uma Thurman also said that Tarantino pushed her into doing a dangerous stunt that ended in a serious car accident. Now she's forgiven him, because apparently he sent her the footage and called it the biggest regret of his life, but she continues to blame, rightfully so, all the producers for the traumatic event and their alleged efforts to cover it up. Now, in response to these allegations, in a statement to the Hollywood Reporter, one producer said, "I deeply regret that Uma suffered the pain she has, both physically and emotionally, for all of these years from the accident that occurred on the set. The safety of the producers who work on the movies I produce is vital to me. I will never let anyone down." And he tried to deny that there was any cover-up, but like, sir?
I only know Alec Baldwin when he played that crazy, obsessive role on The Cat in the Hat. You know, the one where he, in the end, gets covered in the purple goo. I've had no idea though about his past scuffles with the law, photographers, and the recent incident on set, and the list goes on with him. Let's start with 1995 though, when he had a bit of a hands-on incident with a photographer right after his daughter, Ireland Baldwin, was born. Apparently, while they were coming out of the hospital though, a freelance photographer named Alan Zanger was spraying shaving cream all over his car. Alec obviously got pissed. You know, when you're bringing out a newborn and wife at the time out of the hospital after going through labor and more than likely sleepless nights, and you're seeing some butthead spray your car? They fought, and it got to a point where Zanger apparently got his nose broken when Baldwin allegedly punched him. But Alex says all he really did was break his camera. The weirdest part about this, though, was that when this was brought in for a civil case, Zanger managed to get $4,500 out of Baldwin for the damages that he started. Baldwin stated, "Anyone with a shred of human decency would understand that there are times in your life when you want your privacy respected, whether you are a public figure or not. I do believe that bringing your wife and a 3-day-old baby home from the hospital is one of those occasions. That Mr. Zanger felt it was appropriate to videotape my home and my family for his own profit is unacceptable to me. I asked him to repeatedly to stop filming us and he refused each request." Then there was the infamous case where, for some reason, a prop was loaded and, during a scene, had gone off and injured someone that resulted in them passing. I understand him still being in the hot water for involuntary manslaughter, which also the charges had gotten dropped, but I'm also proud of him for suing the studios as a part of it for negligence. Someone on that crew did not do their job properly, and that's coming from someone in the industry who had to be asked multiple times before using those sort of items if I had eaten or if I was under the influence, etc. The industry during the pandemic was wild. I know nothing obviously of how things were going on a Hollywood set, but I could imagine all the shooting that had to be redone or reconstructed, or movies that had to drop overall due to how terrifying of a time that was. Tom Cruise was someone that was also not going to let the pandemic ruin the very minimal amount of freedom that they now had when it came to shooting with multiple cast and crew members within a location. He completely lost it, and rightfully so, because this was a crew of 50 people already, when he noticed a couple of crew members standing too close to each other in front of a computer screen during a shooting of Mission Impossible 7. If I see you do it again, you're gone, and if anyone on this crew does it, that's it. He was a producer as well on this show. Of course he's going to flip out if an outbreak happened on set, to where they would have already had to pause a production that's probably already been paused multiple times because of the pandemic. I understand the frustration. He doesn't stop there though. We are the gold standard. They're back in their Hollywood making movies right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. I'm on the phone with every studio at night, insurance companies, producers, and they're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs. I don't ever want to see you again. Ever. He said what he had to say to save y'all's butts from losing work during the hardest times of our lives. You can tell it to the people who are losing their homes because our industry is shut down. It's not going to put food on their table or pay for their college education. That's what I sleep with every night, and the future of this industry. So I'm sorry, I'm beyond your apologies. I have told you, and now I want it, and if you don't do it, you're out. We are not shutting this movie down. Is it understood? If I see you again, you are gone. I'm slowly learning more and more about Mel Gibson while working here, and I finally started to see what South Park was talking about when they were making him the way that he was on the show. This is wild from someone who produced a religious movie, because while he was pulled over for driving under the influence, he apparently made anti-Semitic remarks towards the police while they were handcuffing him, even going as far as to question if one of the police officers was Jewish. Gibson states in his defense, "Please know from my heart that I am not an anti-Semite. I am not a bigot. Hatred of any kind goes against my faith." I don't mean to knock you off your rocker, but alcohol has the tendency to really remove a lot of the filters we hold in our day-to-day lives. Not claiming that you are anti-Semitic, but alcohol. Flying around the world with Russell Crowe, another character I punctured a lung from laughing so hard on South Park for his stupid violent outburst. I finally understand why now after reading this article from Entertainment News. The first claim I'm reading about him was with Azealia Banks filed a report against Crowe for an assault. She apparently has deleted the Facebook post since then, but allegedly Crowe had called her the N-word, physically assaulting her, and then tossed her out of the room during a party, only to spit on her after doing so. But an eyewitness revealed to the source saying Banks had stated some pretty colorful choice of words before that went down. "You would love it if I broke my glass, poked you guys in the throat, and red would spill everywhere like some real Tarantino stuff." If someone was doing that at my hotel party, even if they were a celebrity, I'd kick them out as well. The eyewitness states that Crowe only bear hugged her to get her out of the room. 4 people came forward saying that Banks was acting, and I quote, erratic that night. Other instances, he has been reported for getting into fights with other people as well, hence the fighting round the world references in South Park. One instant though, back in 2005, Crow was charged with felony assault and fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon after he had thrown a telephone at a hotel staff member in NYC's Mercer Hotel, stating that the rage started when he realized the phone was broken. But his rep stated that the phone was tossed at a wall and not at a person. It was a very, very minor situation that was made into something outrageous. There's more violence perpetuated from me walking between the car to the courtroom with the waiting media than anything than I'd done. You know, you can apologize for something a million times and for whatever reason people will still want you to apologize for it again and again and again. Very differently. It's affected me psychologically. He states his emotional outbursts stem from being an extremely sensitive guy. I'm a bit intuitive, so I know from a handshake whether somebody means good or ill. And sometimes I don't want to. Once I know where they're coming from, I don't want to play that game anymore. You're so real for that, coming from someone who will go into a mental spiral just because they looked at me poorly. Or so I think. I remember when Britney Spears was on the news for shaving her head, but I never really took the time to delve into why it happened. South Park's episode kind of helped me get into some insight, but obviously it turning into some weird cult thing in the end, that was just classically outrageous South Park. The gesture was supposed to be a big F you to the public, she states. My long hair was a big part of what people liked about me. I knew that, she states. I knew a lot of guys thought long hair was hot. Shaving my head was a way of saying to the world, F you. You want me to be pretty for you? F you. You want me to be good for you? F you. You want me to be your dream girl? F you. I'd smiled politely while doing TV show host, leered at my front, while American parents say I was destroying their children by wearing a crop top, while executives patted my hand condescendingly and second-guessed my career choices, even though I had sold millions of records, while my family acted like I was evil, and I was tired of it. The dark struggles of being in the spotlight. I truly empathize with her and these other celebrities with their meltdowns. Yes, they're public eye candy, but they do not owe us anything in return. Of course though, they are in the biggest eyes of the public, and it's a lot more than many people can chew. There has to be that balance somewhere of understanding where both parties are coming from. The poor woman states that she was in grief of not being able to see her sons during a divorce she was going through at the time, and really said it's time for a new makeover, to really give the paparazzi something to snap about. Suddenly, everyone became scared of her, even her own parents, because she was too ugly, proving a heck of a lot when it came to celebrities and people thinking they belonged to them. These are still people, and we tend to forget that. They are still humans who go through the same struggles we do.
Well, on a walk back to her vehicle recently, Oprah was ambushed by a paparazzi with various questions about her recent involvement in the US presidential election. For those not aware of the situation, Oprah has been accused of being paid $1 million to appear at an event supporting Kamala Harris's campaign. TMZ obtained the exclusive video of this impromptu Oprah interview. It was quick and clear to viewers that Oprah did not want to engage, giving short answers and telling them multiple times that she wasn't going to answer their questions. The first question was about what Oprah thought of the election results, and her answer was sweet but firm in that she didn't want to discuss the matter. However, you can see her demeanor change when the cameraman presses on anyways, asking if it was true that she was paid to endorse Harris. Oprah spoke very clearly when she said that that wasn't true and that she was paid nothing ever. As the pop continued to ask various questions, Oprah got in her car, and as the door closed, it was clear the impromptu interview was over. But paid endorsement accusations aren't the only ones giving the talk show host grief right now. People eagerly await to see if Oprah will publicly comment on the situation with Diddy and everything that people are accusing her of providing the victims to the freak-offs, to having a connecting secret underground tunnel system within the rapper's home. There are all sorts of outlandish theories out there. The reason Oprah has found her name attached to Diddy in the headlines is because people noticed how comfortable she appeared with the rapper in party snapshots. As mentioned, Sean Diddy Combs is in some serious trouble right now after multiple people have stepped forward accusing him of engaging with them without consent, forcing people to consume things they don't want to, filming compromising situations, and then later using that footage as blackmail for people, and just generally being a really awful person, and definitely not the kind of guy you'd want your name attached to, especially not if you are someone as famous as Oprah, the kind of personality that has established themselves over the years as someone in firm support of the movement and amplifying victims' voices. Now, coming back to bite Oprah are all the pictures of her partying with Sean Diddy Combs at events he's hosted and others hosted by third parties. Here's the thing though, many big Hollywood names have appeared on a Diddy guest list, but not everyone has been a guest at a freak-off, which are the parties that everyone really has a problem with. Diddy was known as the party host in the 2000s. He hosted massive birthday parties, the white attire parties, wild after parties. The bashes were known for being over the top and expensive and extravagant and everyone wanting to be there. A Diddy birthday invite was once a VHS featuring a dozen celebrities personally inviting the viewer, including Oprah actually. Another invite featured a literal golden ticket. It was a status symbol to be around that much wealth. The main parties were apparently often pretty standard as far as parties go. Allegedly, it was the Diddy after parties that were the freak-offs. Many news sites report that by the time a party descended into a freak-off, the famous faces would have already left. Like anything, there are always rumors online about various celebrities being caught at the events, like Oprah. But people aren't just accusing Oprah of attending freak-offs, but also helping put them on. Some sites even claiming she provided the victims. They claim that one way she would have brought people over is via an underground secret tunnel system connecting Oprah's home to Diddy's. Rumors of a tunnel system below Oprah's home have been around for years, but with all the Diddy drama lately, that rumor's being dug up again. Some TikTok users even claim to have access to and explore abandoned Oprah mansions. The tunnel situation really caught fire when one woman claimed that not only was Oprah a key player, but that she had the address to a tunnel entrance. Adria English filed a lawsuit against Diddy, claiming she worked for Combs at the Hamptons and Miami parties he threw in the mid to late 2000s. In addition to allegedly being forced to consume things, English claims she was also forced to engage in actions she didn't want to do. She claims she was told by Diddy that in exchange for her actions, he would help her and her then boyfriend break into the entertainment world in their respective industries, music and modeling. English alleges that he never kept up his end of the bargain, and now she is suing Diddy and those deemed his co-conspirators for $50 billion. Adria English did have legal representation, but they have since parted ways. One of the lawyers claimed that English was disrespectful and self-destructive, making it impossible to continue representing her. However, the legal team did say that they never lost faith in her case, just in her. To which English allegedly responded with, "I am the client, you work for me." How does this tie back to Oprah? A major point of conflict between English and her legal team was that they requested that English not speak to any form of media, and soon after parting ways, English spoke to independent media. And that interview made its way around TikTok gossip pages and conspiracy pages. English made the bombshell claim that there were tunnels under Oprah's home. She also made the bold statement, she sees what's going on because she's a participant. And there appears to be a shortcut in the video, and so it's unclear if her next statement came right after this line or if the video was edited, but the next words Adria English spoke in the video are, "I ain't gonna say allegedly, sue me." As of right now, no credible news site has confirmed that, or that a tunnel system exists under any of Oprah's properties, or that she was involved with or helped Diddy or anyone else with something like this. I do not wish to discredit Adria English, just clarify that the information she has shared hasn't been officially confirmed or fact-checked by a credible news site yet. Oprah has made little to no comment on the Diddy situation, but maybe it'll take a year until she does speak on the issue. That is what happened back in 2013 regarding her 2011-2012 nervous breakdown. In 2013, the talk show host admitted that the rumors circulating from the year before about how she was having a nervous breakdown were 100% true. She shared all this and more in an interview with Access Hollywood. Let's set that scene. Oprah is/was, if not the biggest talk show host back in 2011, so big that she could launch her own network. It was called the Oprah Winfrey Network, or OWN. What was supposed to be the start of a prosperous new chapter didn't really go according to plan. The network apparently struggled when it debuted, it struggled to take off, and it was struggling to stay up, to the point where Oprah started to suffer a nervous breakdown. The wind of this when it was happening, it was in all the headlines, but Oprah kept to herself about it until a year later when she admitted it was all true. The talk show host shared that her breakdown was literally happening in the middle of her struggling network, and I do mean literally. She shared the moment she realized that she was breaking down when she was in the middle of doing voiceovers. She said, "I remember closing my eyes in between each page because looking at the page and the words at the same time was too much stimulation for my brain." She also shared that she started noticing other symptoms when she was interviewing Jason Russell in 2012. Their chat was all about his public breakdown, which included him running unclothed in the streets. Oprah never got to that point, let me assure you, but she did say that talking to Russell, hearing about his lived experience, his symptoms, clued her into the fact that she could relate and was experiencing some of them. Oprah explained in the Access Hollywood interview, "In the beginning, it was just sort of speeding and a kind of numbness and going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing." She also said she told herself, "All right, if I don't calm down, I'm gonna be in serious trouble." The talk show host acknowledged that she had worn herself thin and reached a breaking point, a point where she just couldn't handle any more stimulation. Oprah was always one to tell people to push through hard times and hold on to their dreams, and this situation was testing her ability to do just that. While her new network wasn't exactly tanking, it was doing poorly enough that it just wasn't where Oprah wanted it to be, and it could be considered a failure. The media was having a grand old time writing about the network's failure, which only made the wound hurt more. About this, Oprah had said, "Nobody was more surprised than I was about that." She then went on to talk about how this was the moment she realized that she needed to hunker down because, as she believes, there is no such thing as failure. She said that failure is just God telling you to move in another direction. Slowly but surely, the network started seeing their ratings improve to the point where Oprah stopped believing that she should be worried. The experience let her, in her words, walk that walk and not just talk it about following and sticking with your dreams.
From the debaucherous and now infamous Meek Mill party to photos of celebs like Leonardo DiCaprio and the Kardashians hanging at freak-offs, footage is starting to leak that may expose some dark secrets inside Diddy's parties. In April of 2014, Sean Combs threw a huge party bash for his friend rapper Meek Mill at a rented mansion in Las Vegas. The event was hosted at a Parisian palace that Diddy dropped $25,000 to rent for just one night. Meek Mill turned 37 and the guest list was filled with A-list celebrities including Lil Durk and French Montana. Hard to believe we'd be talking about a party that happened a decade ago, but this is Diddy, after all, and the event has now resurfaced in the news for all the wrong reasons. Video footage and claims from the property manager, who had to clean up the mess afterward, paint a picture of a wild and chaotic. According to Jason Haidt, the man in charge of the mansion, the aftermath was nothing short of disgusting. He described the condition of the mansion as awful, claiming he found broken bottles, used rubbers, and BLOOD on the beddings. Yikes. There was powder, razor blades by the hundreds, and lubricant on the dressers and marble floors. The footage obtained by Daily Mail shows a scene that's anything but a classy celebration. Guests were eating sushi off the body of a naked woman who lay sprawled on a table. The party appeared to be non-stop substance-fueled frenzy. Haidt also said that he was contacted by Meek's personal assistant, who gave him very specific demands. One of the requests was that all the bedroom doors be fitted with new locks, which were to remain unopened for security purposes upon the guest's arrival. The keys for the locks were only to be handed directly to Diddy himself, and no one else was to have access, which doesn't sound suspicious in the slightest. He'd also first been told to expect around 850 people for the bash, but then there were more like 900. Not that it really makes a difference at that point. I mean, that is an ungodly amount of people to attend a party. I guess, it is in a mansion, but with such a large crowd though, the party was bound to get out of hand. Haidt also claimed that Diddy's team insisted on bringing their own smoke detectors. They weren't happy with the existing detectors in the mansion and said they wanted brand new ones, which they would have shipped and installed once they got there. The team assured Haidt that the detectors would be temporarily attached and then removed after the party ended. Alright, so next up, let's talk about an infamous VHS tape. A VHS tape, you say? You know, look, this was 1998, and that was how you flexed your exclusive party invites. A source recently sent a copy of this tape to Page 6 that was originally used to invite celebrities to Diddy's 29th birthday bash. The tape starts with Danny DeVito, who's casually lying on a sofa under a blanket, telling viewers, "That's right, Puff Daddy is having a party, let's have a ball." Now the words "come" and "ball" so close together in the context of a Diddy party invite. Pretty ominous. In context, having a ball at a Diddy party can mean many different things. Luckily DeVito didn't mention more than one ball or that they'd be anywhere near anyone's mouth, at least not in any of the footage of the tape that's been released to the public. Then a lineup of celebrities, including Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, and the man who slapped him, Will Smith, Mariah Carey, and Joan Rivers, take turns reading from a script. They hype up the date, the time, the ridiculously expensiveness of the party, and then leave the venue a mystery, promising that it will be revealed later. Classic Diddy, just always keeping people guessing. The video is 6 minutes long, but only a minute of it has been released, so what goes on in those other 5 minutes? Who knows? Some say the celebs involved should be looked closely at, given their close ties to Diddy. After all, if the party's as wild as some people are claiming, it's hard to believe some of these A-listers were just there for the canapes. For the canapes. I looked this up, but it's a French word. It's some sort of hors d'oeuvre. Leonardo DiCaprio's name has also surfaced in connection to Diddy, particularly due to photos of him at several of Diddy's infamous parties. Diddy himself once named Leo as the #1 person on his white party invite list, which Leo was probably, a pretty cool thing to be called at the time, but now being called the #1 person on Diddy's invite list, that's like being tossed a hot potato on fire covered in spikes. Now, despite the links, a source close to DiCaprio has said that he hasn't been in contact with Diddy in years. A source also said that Leo apparently never participated in Diddy's freak-offs, adding he attended a few of his parties back in the early 2000s, but literally everyone did. They were not freak-offs, they were big house parties. Leo, who is at the start of his career at the time, has reportedly moved far beyond that world. The source continued, Leonardo DiCaprio has absolutely nothing to do with any of this. For anyone to assume he'll get roped into this based on a few grainy photos from over 20 years ago is ridiculous. And in recent years, the entire Kardashian-Jenner clan has been seen partying with him. They've posted about it on social media and discussed Diddy on their reality show. Khloe even invited him to appear as a guest on her talk show, the name of which is Cocktails with Khloe. Considering the circumstances, it's a pretty apt name. So much that's not going to get into the video here today. Recently, fans noticed that Kim Kardashian unfollowed Diddy on Instagram after the raids on his houses. Now, was this just because she was genuinely shocked and disgusted, or was she in panic mode trying to distance herself from him for, selfish reasons? Khloe still has an Instagram photo of herself, Diddy, and her sisters together with the caption, "No party like a Diddy party." And there's Kris Jenner as well, who is dating Corey Gamble. Corey is a close friend of Diddy's, and sources claim that he was aware of Diddy's controversial activities. With Diddy's legal troubles now making headlines, sources say Kris is scrambling to protect her daughters. It's all very ugly and very embarrassing, and Kris is scrambling to distance them from all of this, a source shared. Another insider said that many fans assume the family was involved in Diddy's so-called freak-offs, but they insist that they had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. Diddy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't freak-offs, the source explained, at least not until the early morning hours when the majority of people had left. Martha Stewart, known for her empire of home goods and lifestyle expertise, has been to one of Diddy's famous parties, at least one. On November 20th of 2009, she posted on her website about attending what was being dubbed as the Party of the Century, Sean Combs' 40th birthday. The event took place in the Grand Ballroom of the Plaza Hotel in New York. Martha described the night, saying, "The party was simply stunning, and I had such a fantastic time." Martha also posted pictures of herself at the event. She also included photos of Diddy arriving and one of them together, captioned, "My friend, Sean Puffy Combs Diddy." People, of course, didn't think much of these photos then. Yeah, in 2017, she even had Diddy as a guest on her VH1 cooking show with Snoop Dogg, Martha and Snoop's potluck dinner party. During the show, they played a card game where one prompt asked, "When I die, I want my last words to be." Diddy responded with 3 words, "I did it." Just another thing to add to the long list of Diddy-related quotes that have not aged well. Martha Stewart, of course, is no stranger to legal troubles herself. In 2004, she was convicted of charges including conspiracy and obstruction of justice in a case related to the sale of stock in ImClone Systems, a a biopharmaceutical company. She was sentenced to 5 months in prison, 2 years of probation, and a $195,000 fine. But as of now, she has not been officially linked to any of Diddy's criminal activities. Still, people are wondering, considering how close she appeared to be with him in public. Diddy, for his part, had never been convicted of a serious crime before 2023, though he had long faced accusations of violence and mistreatment of women. That changed when his ex-girlfriend Casey Ventura filed a lawsuit accusing him of mistreating her during their 10-year relationship. Diddy's attorney denied the allegations, calling them outrageous and accusing Cassie of trying to extort him. The case was settled quickly, but the damage was done. In May of 2024, security footage surfaced showing an incident between Diddy and Casey that matched her claims, and Diddy was forced to issue an apology. Many saw it as insecure, given that it came out only after he was caught. Diddy's troubles didn't stop there. After Casey's lawsuit, more individuals began to come forward, accusing him of similar mistreatment. By the fall of 2024, it was revealed that Diddy had been running a crime ring out of his parties, and the FBI raided his homes. Investigators uncovered that his infamous after-parties had been a front for illegal activities, with dozens of victims. By October, more than 120 people had accused him of various crimes, and Diddy was arrested in September of 2024. The accusations surrounding Diddy's parties have led to many questioning the role of celebrities like the ones I've just discussed who came to these events. Other sources have described Diddy's parties as wild, with some guests leaving early to avoid the, quote, turn that the party would take. So my point is, did Martha Stewart leave early, or did she stick around?
Feldman has been calling out Hollywood for decades and no one listened. Allegedly, not even the police. Feldman shared that he did sit down with the police to share a list of names for them to investigate for acting inappropriately towards those under the age of 18, but the police didn't do much. Feldman had been in the industry since a very, very young age and has expressed that he doesn't like that fact. But the real sharing of Hollywood secrets came in his 2013 memoir, Choreography. He shared that industry adults acted inappropriately towards him when he was very much not an adult, and that some of those people are still or were still working. It's really heartbreaking that all this happened, and Feldman did share that it has been really hard for him, that he wants to fight the fight for survivors. Feldman also shares that he applauds all victims for letting their voices be heard, and he encourages the public debate to continue. Megan Fox was calling out big stars and this thing referred to as the casting couch long before the Me Too movement. The term casting couch can be literal or figurative. Without getting too into it, the term means someone getting a position on a movie set by doing a specific type of favor for someone. In a 2009 interview with GQ, Fox revealed that the people using this casting couch method weren't just producers or casting directors, but also some Hollywood legends, in her words. She said, "It's really so heartbreaking. Some of these people, like Hollywood legends, you think you're going to meet them and you're so excited, like, I can't believe this person wants to have a conversation with me, and you get there and you realize that's not what they want at all." If you can believe it, Megan Fox wasn't treated very well after this admission. Some people didn't believe her due to her sort of bad girl image at the time. It wasn't until years later in the Me Too movement that people took her past comments and stories as seriously as they should have. Britney Spears' life story and book about her life story exposed just how controlling Hollywood can be. The news of her father basically, allegedly, controlling every aspect of the singer's life rocked the internet and led to large social media outcry to free Britney from her conservatorship. It was revealed that the star had little control over her finances, family life, and just her life in general. Her 2023 book, The Woman in Me, dropped more interesting stories and facts about the singer's life. One particular story about how she got pregnant took the internet by storm. While Britney was dating Justin Timberlake, she got pregnant with his baby, but felt as though she could not keep the child, even though she really, really wanted to. Timberlake felt he wasn't ready to be a father, and so Britney ended the pregnancy. In the book she wrote, "If it had been left up to me alone, I never would have done it," and to this day, it's one of the most agonizing things I have ever experienced in my life. The book highlighted that being the most popular person in the world is not everything it's cracked up to be. Courtney Love had let us know about a certain recently convicted someone long before he was convicted. The certain someone that everyone knew what he was doing in Hollywood and yet nothing happened until recently. Hint, he shares a name with a popular fast food burger place. Yeah, that guy. Courtney Love hit a red carpet in 2005 and joined Comedy Central for an interview. The interviewer asked the blonde blonde bombshell, do you have any advice for a young girl moving to Hollywood? Love seemed unsure on how to respond at first, but then chose to become one of the first people to warn us about the burger name guy. She responded, I'll get libeled if I say it. If insert that man's name here invites you to a private party in the Four Seasons, don't go. The man many years later got in trouble with the law for those parties at the Four Seasons and what he would do to women there. Love, at the time, was treated very poorly after this moment, but has now received a lot of, well, love since all the stories came out, and is regarded as one of the first people that attempted to expose the terrible behavior. Jeanette McCurdy stood up to the entertainment industry when she released her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. It revealed how child stars might sometimes not be protected by the people that should love them the most. In the book, McCurdy shared that she felt her whole childhood and adolescence were very exploited. Younger stars for years have unfortunately felt similar pressure to what McCurdy shared in her book, and we will get to some of them later in the video. About the revelation regarding her younger years, McCurdy shared, it still gives my nervous system a reaction to say it. There were cases where people had the best intentions and maybe didn't know what they were doing, and also cases where they knew exactly what they were doing. McCurdy spent a lot of time talking about her mother in the book, which makes sense considering the title. Some stories that were shared included a not yet able to consume certain beverages, McCurdy being offered one of those drinks by someone that she refers to as the creator. She also shared that she wished her mother had intervened when a photo shoot resulted in a not yet legal McCurdy feeling pressured to wear a bikini. McCurdy shared that instead of her mother standing up for her, she would often receive the reminder, everyone wants what you have. Bella Thorne and Zendaya starred on the Disney Channel show Shake It Up together. Even though the show was great, their relationship wasn't so amazing at first, at least according to Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne revealed the rough start to the pair's friendship on the show while speaking with US Weekly. Though the pair on the show were the best of friends in real life, Bella shared that the pair didn't even consider themselves friends until a couple seasons into the show. The reason for this? Bella says it was because people on the show were pitting the girls against each other. Bella shared that this fed into our heads. It made us not friends in that first season. It's sad to learn that a show that was so loved by young viewers hadn't been quite a safe space for the girls. This interview isn't the first time Bella has mentioned the made-up competition between them. In 2017, she said that the pair were forced to compete against each other and that they were placed in a very unfortunate position. It was an interesting reveal when Bella shared that the pair didn't actually become friends while working on their show, but instead while shooting an episode for another popular Disney show, Good Luck Charlie. That was the time for the two to set things straight. About this time, Bella said, we were really able to put our cards out on the table and understand each other. From that point on, the pair did get along and are now friends. Kim Kardashian has let the cat out of the bag when it comes to the paparazzi. One photographer revealed that Kim regularly texts him where she is going to be so that he can come and take some shots of the reality TV star. It exposed something that a lot of people suspected, but it's nice to get confirmation on, that sometimes when you see a paparazzi photo of a celeb that looks a little too perfect to be candid, it might be because it's really staged and posed. The photographer revealed that Kim allegedly has him on speed dial and even flies him around with her to get the candid photos. He also reveals that the paparazzi pictures he takes get reviewed by Kim, and I'm assuming her team, and photoshopped before they are sold to major magazines and websites. This isn't the first and surely won't be the last time pops are hired for something like this. Long before the news around Kim K's pops made it out in 2016, stars of The Hills, Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag also had a similar agreement with some pops, crafting pictures of themselves to sell for profit. Now, this isn't to say that pops are always hired to take pictures. There are many times when that is clearly not the case, but the public has speculated for years that paparazzi might not be as random as they are portrayed. I mean, when you think about it, it makes way more sense that they might be called to a location instead of them just roaming a city with a big camera every night hoping to catch somebody. Jack Nicholson revealed an interesting tidbit about life on set. Apparently, certain substances were incredibly common, the kind of stuff that can get addictive if one isn't careful. Yeah, it might be no secret now that that kind of thing is common in Hollywood, but that wasn't always the case. In a 1980 interview, Nicholson shared that the substances ain't no big thing, and that he would get influenced about 4 days a week. Again, the presence of certain things in Hollywood was something suspected by many that is nice to get confirmation on. It's also just surprising that it would be happening on set very commonly, apparently. Who could have guessed? Addictive on-camera performances could have come from an equally as addictive something else. Another actor, Dennis Quaid, further confirmed these vibes on set and how it didn't always go well. He actually said that the substances caused his entire life to fall apart and said that they were one of his greatest mistakes. The star of The Rookie and The Parent Trap revealed that originally he just used stuff casually since that was what everyone was doing. This and more was revealed in an article published to Newsweek. Quaid did reveal something even more shocking about Hollywood, that major studios would actually include the substances in their budgets. Quaid shares it was even in the budgets of movies, thinly disguised it was petty cash. So if you were to see petty cash listed in a budget, it probably meant something else entirely. Quaid went on to say that since everyone was doing the petty cash stuff, sets would sometimes supply it. People would even make deals. So while many have guessed that this stuff was present in Hollywood, it was a major shock to many to find out just how entwined it was with the movie making process. The recently released documentary Quiet on Set, featuring Nickelodeon star Drake Bell, is the most recent example of Hollywood's worst being exposed. Without going into too much detail, the documentary features Drake Bell sharing stories about what he experienced while working for Nickelodeon, stories of things that would make anyone feel sick. The admissions from the documentary have led to widespread support towards Bell and widespread hatred towards former dialogue coach Brian Peck. The documentary showed just how twisted Hollywood can be when it comes to young stars.
First up, we have the Kardashian family. Perhaps the most famous Hollywood family, the Kardashians have built a successful billion-dollar empire. But secrets have recently been exposed about how they allegedly achieved that success. While the Kardashian-Jenner family already had immense notoriety, from Caitlyn Jenner's Olympic status and Kim Kardashian's career as a stylist for Paris Hilton, the leak of Kim's explicit tape put them in the limelight and caught the public's attention. Fans speculated that Kim's mother, Kris Jenner, was actually at the center of that whole tape controversy, releasing the tape in order to gain fame. Ray J added fuel to the fire in 2022 when, during an Instagram live, he made the same assertion and even claimed that Kris picked which version of the tape to release. Wow. Kris Jenner denied these claims. Kris is also being accused of starting her own church as a way to write off taxes. Biblically, it's customary to give 10% of earnings back to the church, a practice known as tithing. Is it a coincidence that 10% is also the cut that momager Kris takes of her children's earnings? Now, Kris Jenner and her church have been accused of being simply a tax write-off for the Kardashian family. In 2011, Kim K told Piers Morgan that she faithfully gives 10% to the church every single year, which is what she was taught, she says. Therefore, the Kardashians might be reducing their own taxable income and giving money to their mom, Kris Jenner, as the co-founder of that church in the process. Also, there's more. The church allegedly has a monthly $1,000 membership fee, which may mean even more money into their pockets. Our next family is the Cyrus family. The mother of Miley Cyrus, 56, is at the center of shock claims that she stole Dominic Purcell from her daughter Noah, who is said to be seeing the man when Tish began to pursue him. The Cyruses have been ripped apart by a mysterious feud over the last few years, and now we know why. Allegedly, the reason is Tish's relationship with Dominic, her now husband. The turmoil between Noah and her mom Tish goes far beyond what people think. Noah is very distraught over Tish stealing Dominic from her, a close source has said. Another celebrity family hiding a dark secret is the Duggar family. Popular on TLC for their hit show 19 Kids and Counting, the Duggars followed a strict religious upbringing that captivated fans across the globe. No kissing until marriage, girls can only wear skirts and not pants, and men must be the providers were some of the family's values. But behind the happy facade, a darkness was looming. Josh Duggar, the oldest Duggar sibling, resigned from his high-up job in 2015 after he was exposed for having inappropriately touched multiple females, including 4 of his own siblings. These revelations led to the cancellation of 19 Kids and Counting on July 16, 2015. The consequent fallout was named one of the 10 big scandals of 2015 by USA Today, and the Washington Post listed Duggar as one of the 15 15 most hated people on the internet. On April 29, 2021, Duggar was arrested by U.S. Marshals on charges of receiving and possessing inappropriate videos. He was found guilty on all charges on December 9, 2021, and he was sentenced to more than 12 years in prison on May 25, 2022. Our next family is a family YouTube channel that went down in complete flames recently. The channel was called 8 Passengers, and the mom, Ruby Frankie, is now serving up to 15 years in prison for her crimes. Beginning in 2020, when one of the Frankie children said that he had been banned from his bedroom and made to sleep on a beanbag for 7 months, viewers became concerned about his mother's disciplinary methods. The mom had also said extremely vile things during her vlogs, and that kept going on for years and years. Eventually, a change.org petition was made to stop the mom from doing these horrible things. The Frankie parents posted in defense of that discipline, saying that the incidents had always been taken out of context. But on February 20th, 2024, Frankie received 4 consecutive sentences of between 1 and 15 years imprisonment, with the exact term that she will serve to be decided by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. Next up, we have Doja Cat's family. Doja's mom claimed that her son had given her daughter cuts and bruises, and even went as far as knocking out Doja's teeth, which resulted in Doja feeling, quote, unsafe and traumatized. Ramen, Doja's brother, has destroyed and stolen property, the initial filing stated. He has verbally harmed Doja Cat in a very degrading and demeaning manner. He has made her feel unsafe and traumatized. Deborah, Doja's mom, also accused her son of physically violent, going as far as threatening her multiple times over the past year. I need these orders to protect the physical and emotional well-being of all parties listed. The initial petition filed by Deborah Sawyer, Doja's mom, stated, I am not only worried and fearful of physically violent episodes, but the tremendous mental and emotional damage that is done. A judge ruled temporary protection for Deborah against her 30-year-old son until a hearing for a permanent restraining order could happen. Next up, we have Sofia Vergara. Sofia Vergara has had a long, successful career. It all started when she was discovered by a photographer while walking on a beach in her native country of Colombia. Since then, the knockout actress has proven her beauty is only a small section of her talents, with a leading part on the long-running sitcom Modern Family, in addition to several other high-profile acting roles like the recent Griselda on Netflix. Unfortunately, some of her close family still struggles with their own demons. Sofia has a younger brother named Julio who has lived with addiction for many years, resulting in many run-ins with the law. In 2011, this ultimately resulted in Julio being deported back to Colombia. When speaking about her younger sibling, Vergara said, to see somebody passing over 10 years little by little, that's the worst punishment. Now he's like another person. It is sad to hear this, but it should serve as a reminder to everybody that fame and celebrity does not automatically make one's life rosy. This is not the first familial tragedy Sofia has lived through. Her older brother met his tragic end in 1989 after a botched kidnapping attempt. As unfortunate as it is to hear these tales about Sofia's family, it's good to see that she has managed to make something special from her life and find her own success. Next up, we have Rihanna. Throughout her childhood, her father had struggles with addiction. This resulted in the deterioration of her parents' marriage. Additionally, her father's philandering ways gave Rihanna several half-siblings from many different women. Though these actions would understandably put a strain on the relationship, it appears Rihanna and her dad do get along great these days. A couple of years ago, Rihanna bought a mansion in Barbados worth more than $1 million just for him. She also paid for her father to receive top-quality medical treatment for an injury sustained in a severe car accident. Next up, we have the Depp family. Johnny Depp was investigated by the LAPD and the Department of Family Services for allowing his daughter, Lily Rose, to live with her a lot older boyfriend next door. No charges were filed, and Depp has never publicly responded to these allegations, though the witness in the documents testified they felt Johnny had made false statements in order for the charges not to be filed. Next up, we have the Hilton family. Paris Hilton exposed her parents for sending her to a troubled school for girls when she was younger. The school had been accused of doing some terrible things to their students by Paris after she came forward to talk about about the things she endured while she was there, calling it, quote, the worst of the worst. Paris said that the students were just sitting and staring at walls all day, getting yelled at, and even more horrible things. Paris also claimed that while attending the school, she and her friends were given mystery pills, and when they refused to take them, they were sent to solitary confinement for up to 20 hours. She said that a lot of the people who worked there enjoyed this harm. Paris, who was in that facility for 11 months, said that she wanted to get out so badly and that she vowed she would be so successful that her parents would never be able to control her or send her back to the facility again. She still suffers from recurring nightmares because of what she experienced in that school. Lastly, we have the royal family. Although there are many controversies with this family, let's center on Princess Diana. From the start, the relationship between Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, and Diana, Princess of Wales, had been strained. But after the couple separated in 1992, Charles and Diana began to publicly trade barbs about one another's infidelities. Diana famously told an astounded global audience that, quote, there were 3 in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. The Crown Season 5 trailer shows just how dramatic the moment felt for viewers around the world. The ugliness ended abruptly in 1997 when, unfortunately, Diana was killed in a car crash in Paris. Charles went on to marry Camilla, the 3rd in the marriage, of whom Diana spoke. Besides her rocky relationship, there are many conspiracies about her death, many believing the Queen orchestrated this deadly car crash on purpose, as Diana was too controversial.